Hey folks, it's Tuesday and I'm Terrietime, and I was going to do a food review, but I'm absolutely not a bit hungry, so I am just going to do a story time, drive and wine type thing. I just left the beauty shop, and since I've dropped two names now, two of my married names, and you haven't done anything with either one of them, I don't know if you gave up on the deep dive or you finally believe me that there's nothing to find out. There's no deep dive to find out. My life is an open book. Never been arrested. No bankruptcies. No hot checks. No shoplifting. Nothing. So, I'm going to go on with number 3. My daughter's father. The only one of all of them that had any money to speak of. He's the one that brought me to Texas. So, after I was married to number 1, Kennedy, and my mother got breast cancer, and I went home, and I married my number 2, and we were together maybe 2 years, not quite, that's pushing it. And then I was working at a place called Electricord. And I worked the 3rd shift, midnight to 8. And me and my friend Debbie, who's still alive and well, kicking up there where I'm from, we would go to this restaurant every morning at 8 and order breakfast. And there was a guy in there. He was supposed to be the most eligible bachelor in the area. So he'd be in there sitting at the counter, and Debbie and I'd get a booth. So one day the waitress brought this note over to me, a note he left me, and he said to stop by his business. And he owned a mobile home lot, a big one. So Debbie and me didn't have nothing to do, so I drove by there, and he came out, and he walked me in and out of the mobile home parks, and he told me he had this cabin cruiser up on Seneca Lake. He had some money, and he was quite good looking. He was 6'3", something like that. I do have a height requirement in my men. And so he said, how'd you like to go out there on that cabin cruiser for a weekend? I said, why not? So anyway, I didn't know at the time that he was living with a girl named Ida Price. Or I don't know if he was living with her, but he was dating her. I didn't know any of that. So I went up, I met him. He took me out to the cabin cruiser. It was a 38-foot Chris Craft with a fly deck. If any of you know about boats, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't need to know. It's immaterial. We were on Seneca Lake. If you know where Seneca Lake is, it is really close to the NASCAR track, to Watkins Glen. And they were having a big, like a Woodstock, but it was the Allman Brothers. So we just stayed on the cabin cruiser, and Seneca Lake is not landlocked. It's 40 miles long and 10 miles wide. Watkins Glen is on one end of it. Geneva, New York's on the other end. And then you can get out of it, and you can get into the Hudson River, and you go out to the ocean. It's not landlocked. The Finger Lakes are not landlocked. So anyway, we were in the boat. Blah, 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 just me and him, and the concert was going on, and we could hear it, but we weren't in there where all the people was, and the traffic, and all that stuff. And so I kind of liked him, but I seen these women's clothes on the boat. The little closets had clothes in them, and so I knew there was a woman somewhere. So I lived in a house, and I was pregnant. Got pregnant right away with him. And I was staying in a house with just me and another girlfriend I had named Kathy, who's passed now. And so he wanted me to move in with him. Want to get married and move in with him. So I moved up on this dirt road called California Road with him. He had a brand new house up in there. I moved in with him. Well, about this time, this crazy woman, Ida, found out about me and started trying to block my car in, trying to kill me, sending him love letters every single day, writing love letters everywhere. And she worked at the same place I did, but a different shift. And she tried to run these big barrels up in me. It was a nightmare. It was a terrible fighting nightmare of women. And he was a player anyway. He he went out on me all the time, but that didn't bother me because, hey, whatever a man can do, I can do. So we finally jacked around with her for a while, and then we bought a house, built a new house in Pennsylvania. By then I'd had Brianna. We were still together. I had some horses. He had coon hounds. He was a big coon hunter. He had that big mobile home franchise. The first year I was with him, he won Salesman of the Year, and we took a world cruise. I have never been on a cruise ship before or since. I absolutely hated it. Hated it. I hate cruises. Never do it again. I don't care if it was free. I don't care if it's going to the King of England. I will never be on another cruise, not as long as I live, ever. But anyway, I didn't know nothing, so I went with him, and we kept going to these big ski lodges in the winter for New Year's Eve, fancy parties, and fancy people, and all that stuff. He never wanted me to work. He never wanted me to have my own money. That's not me. I've always had my own money. So we had the place in Pennsylvania, and he had a chance to make some big bucks on it. So he sold it. We bought another place in Campbell, New York. No, we bought a place in Woodhall, New York that I really liked. And he had his coon hounds, and I got a job at a place called Polio Dairy. Joe Polio, an Italian guy, owned it. There was a Polio in Rochester, and a Polio in Buffalo, and a Polio in Campbell, New York. They made mozzarella cheese, ricotta, all Italians. Great place to work, great money. I loved it. So we bought the place in Woodhall, and then he decided to sell that. We bought another place in Campbell where the cheese plant was, way up on a dirt road. I mean, way up on a dirt road. So he had a son. I would say that boy was around 12 when we got married. He was 11 years older than me, and I was 10 years older than the son was. And so we were going to go out. The son and I had birthdays that were real close. So we were going to a Magnum movie. I didn't even want to see it, so I was in a bad mood anyway. So we get in the movie, and I'm throwing a fit, and this is in February. Snow everywhere. So I said, well, I'm just walking home. Well, I figured he would run out and try to stop me. Well, that was a big mistake. He didn't even come check on me or nothing. So I walked to the McDonald's where I knew a girl that worked there. I waited till she got off work, and she drove me almost to the house. She let me off on that dirt road. Well, in the meantime, number 3 and the boy, they think I've walked all this time. And they drive right by me. They don't even pick me up, just drive right by me. I thought, fuck, I really fucked this up. I'm glad I got a ride. So when I finally get to the house, he said, you want some hot chocolate? It's cold out there. And that's all he ever said. I knew better to jump out of the car again and do that shit. He wasn't going to come after me. If I wanted to walk, adios, see you later when you get your brain right. So we rocked on. He was dating several women I found out about. I was dating this. There were these welders that came down from Buffalo that could weld stainless steel. Ooh, I loved him. I dated them. He dated who he dated. I called him a couple times. He called me a couple times. So then he got a bright idea to come. Well, it really wasn't his idea. Actually, the mobile home place where he was a manager got shut down. They voted the Teamsters in on a Friday. They shut the doors to that place on a Monday. But they let all the plant managers go somewhere else. So he had a choice of going to Waycross, Georgia, or Wills Point, Texas. I didn't want to go anywhere. I loved my job. I didn't want to leave, blah, blah, blah. He said, you got 30 days, figure out what you're going to do. And of course, we had the kid. So I decided to move to Texas. We get down here. I got to Texas on a Wednesday, and my dad drove one car. I drove a car. The horses and everything were already here. We had a horse trailer with some furniture on it, and my husband had already got a house, rented a house. So I get down here. I hate it. It's hot. Oh, God, it's so hot. You can't believe how hot it is. I was homesick. I hated it. I cried. I wanted to go home every day. But I still went and looked for a job. My husband kept telling me to draw unemployment off polio. I said, no, I'm getting a job. So I got a job at the salt mine. Went there for an IQ test, physical and stuff. In the meantime, a horse had fallen on me up in New York, in Campbell, and it broke my ankle. I have a real bad ankle. It's all bone fused and all that stuff. But they hired me. The salt mine did. Went in there for an interview on a Wednesday, and they hired me that Friday. So I was only in Texas 2 days before I had that salt mine job. And that salt mine job paid more than any job I'd ever, other than my lot lizard stuff and stripping. That pays more than anything. But as far as having a real job, it paid more than any. So I kept doing what I was doing. He kept doing what he was doing. We weren't getting along. We were fighting all the time. He gets this big idea to move to Oregon and haul logs or some damn thing. I said, I'm not going another place. I'm not moving another place. I'm staying here. So we were fighting terrible. And one night the TV was on and didn't have remote controls. And I kept getting up changing the channel. Well, the third time I changed the channel, he nailed me. The last thing I remember is his fist coming at my face. When I woke up, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I was. I crawled out of the house, drove myself to the emergency room. The doctor called the cops. Then they called him. He comes in there with my daughter in his arms. And he walks up to me and he bends down. He says, if you say anything, I'll kill your whole damn family. So the cops, they didn't know what he said to me. They just seen him up there by my head. He told them that I got drunk and hit a chair, fell in a chair or something. The kid was screaming. So I wouldn't tell them nothing. I wouldn't press charges. They got mad and left because they couldn't do nothing if I wouldn't say nothing. But he said he'd be gone when I got out. Well, he was gone. My daughter was over with a lady that we used to rent from. In the meantime, we'd bought this place here. And I'll take you by it. I may take you by it and show you where it is. So, my horses and all that stuff were moved there. The coon hounds were there. Everything was there. So, he went back up Pennsylvania, New York. I stayed down here and I got a divorce lawyer. Started the divorce. And in the meantime, my father passed away, and my face was still beat up from this beating. I had to wear great big huge sunglasses to my father's funeral where he had beat me so bad. And I didn't want any of my family to find out what happened. I told him I had a wreck, my head went through the windshield. I didn't want to tell him he did it because he was up there too. So I just told him about the cow story. And then before I could get back to Texas from the funeral, my neighbors called me in Texas and they said, your husband is up here and moved some blonde woman in there with him. So I'm a nervous wreck coming back to Texas. He's got a woman in the house. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I go get the lady we rented from. She got the sheriff. We drove out there. Sheriff told him he had 20 minutes to get his shit and get out. Well, the other woman didn't even know he was married. She was innocent. She was sitting there crying. He's throwing shit out the back door. All of us have got guns. I've got a gun. The lady I rented from had a gun. He had a gun. And the sheriff had a gun. We all had guns. He was throwing his shit out. Finally, that sheriff said, look, you got to get the fuck out of here right now. I ain't giving you no more time. Well, I was halfway scared to stay there because that number 3 was a crack shot. That guy could hit anything. I said, man, I just know he's going to pick me up one of these days coming home from the salt mine. I had a bad feeling about it. But I grabbed his 30-06. I grabbed it out of that gun case and I kept it because that was his favorite gun and I've still got it to this day. I grabbed it and I kept it. So, I'm scared, living there scared, just afraid he's going to come back and kill me or who knows what. Well, my lawyer said, whatever you do, Terry, do not let him back on that property for any reason whatsoever. Not for the dogs, not for nothing. Well, I didn't listen. He came over and he said, would it be okay if I moved the RV out there and then I could see Brianna and blah, blah, blah. So I let him. I let him move out there in the back pasture. My lawyer had a fit. I can't believe you were that stupid to let that idiot move back on that property. Blah, 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 rant and rave. Well, it got into such a big fight because, like I said, he was the only one that ever had any money. The rest of them, I just divorced them easy. They didn't have nothing when I met them. They didn't have anything when I left. This guy had some bucks. And the place we had, and I'm getting ready to show it to you. I'm going to drive out there. This guy had some money. So we finally settled. I wanted to go back to home. I wanted to go back home. I'd called Polio Dairy. They said, yes, you can have your job back. I hated Texas. It was fucking hot. I hated it, hated it, hated it. So I rented an apartment in Wills Point and let him buy me out. And he bought me out for $190,000, my half of the place. So I had talked to the people in Polio and said, I'm going to come back. But I was making such good money at the salt mine, I couldn't hardly stand to walk away from it. And I'd met a couple guys down here, and I just kept putting it off, and I never did move back. I took the money I got from that house, from that divorce, and bought a place with it in Grand Saline. Not the place I live in now, but another place. And the house across the road, I bought a rent house too. So I had 2 houses. So he didn't bother me anymore. I thought it was going to get a lot worse, but he got remarried to this like little house on the prairie type woman that does everything he says and doesn't work and doesn't run around or nothing like me at all. But my daughter would go see him in the summers. She would fly up there and stay with my mother, my brother, and her dad. So that he never paid any child support because he had her part of the year. Well, anyway, it rocked on that way for a long time. And I never seen the dude again. Never talked to him on the phone. Never seen him or nothing. But everybody remembered that beating that I took at the salt mine. And one day my plant manager came up to me. Everybody'd seen it. It was horrible. And he said, and I told him all it was because I changed the channel. It had way more to do than changing the channel. But that's what I told him. So he walks up to me and he goes, Terry, what's your ex-husband look like? I said, why? He said, 'cause if I ever see him in a bar, I'm not going to change that channel. You look worse than anybody. You don't even need to be out here working. I said, well, I feel fine. It just looks bad. And I would run around on this dude, knowing the temper he had. And there was a guy I worked with, and I'm not going to say his name because the salt miners still watch my channel. But he knows who he is. He used to love to coon hunt and blow stuff up and shoot stuff and everything. He was my buddy. So one night he came home with me. I didn't expect Brianna's dad to be home. He wasn't supposed to be, but I heard that diesel coming. I'll show you. I'm going to ride out there right now. When that diesel hit that road we lived on, you could hear it. And I said, oh my God, what are we going to do? I said, you better say you're out here looking at a coon hound. You're probably going to have to go out in the woods and coon hunt. Whatever you do, you better go along with it. So we're sitting there in the living room, and Hauser pulls up, because that's my last name. That was his last name. He pulls up and he said, oh wow, and shook his hand. He said, what are you doing here? And the guy says, I just come over here to look at some of your coon hounds. And my ex said, well, let's take one out in the woods. Let's try it. Let's go hunt. So the guy said, okay. He's a nervous wreck, right? And he told this story at the salt mine right before I retired. He said that was the scariest night he ever had in his life. Because there was a woman he was having an affair with, husband, walking out in the woods with him with a gun. And the dude didn't have a gun. Just my ex had the gun. They went ahead and went coon hunting. He said, man, he was sweating bullets walking out in the woods with him. And I'm sure that my ex knew what was going on. He wasn't that stupid. He just wanted to scare the guy. So rocked on. We didn't get along. We finally got the divorce. I bought another place with the money. He moved back to Pennsylvania, I think, or New York. He's lived in both them states and West Virginia 100 times. I can't keep track of it. But anyway, he married this little house on the prairie type woman. It didn't work, didn't have nothing, didn't want nothing. If I wanted to go buy a horse or car or whatever I wanted, I just went and got it. I didn't care if he liked it or not. I never have. I've done what I want to do. So we're going on, living life. Never seen him. He'd come down here and see Brianna, or she'd go up there and see him. He bought 2 or 3 places down here in Texas since we've been divorced, just so he could be by her and the grandkids. Never talked to him. Didn't want to talk to him. Care about him. My daughter was in a really, really bad car accident. She was in a coma for months. I was never so happy to see somebody in my life than I was him when he finally came to the hospital, because I knew he would handle it. I couldn't handle nothing. And then we kind of talked, and since then we've sort of got along, but that woman hates me, the one he's married to, so that makes me try to act a little more friendly. If I know I can get under a female's skin, I will do it. I can't help myself. I will do it. If I know they're one of these, well, my husband will never go out on me, and there I am seeing the dude 2 or 3 times a week, draining them, and that bitch is sitting there thinking she's the only one, you better believe I'll do shit. I hate them kind of women. Don't ever think your man won't cheat on you, because they all will. Right time, the right woman, the right situation, they all will, ladies. I don't care if they're married to Pamela fucking Anderson. They get a chance to get some strange, they're going to go for it. If you don't think they will, then go ahead and keep fooling yourself, because I'm here to tell you, they all will. Including the ones that I've had. But the only thing is, I played their little game right with them. They want to play games, no strings. I am a no-string type of gal. They wish they'd have never agreed to it before I get done fucking with them. Now we're on the road where the place was. I will show it to you. I hope it don't make me start feeling sad. I should have kept it if I'd known I was going to stay in Texas. But I fully intended to move back home, get my old job at Family Old Day back. I'm still in the Teamsters Union to this day. I still pay the dues. I'm still in it. But I didn't go back because I kept getting tangled up with men here, getting married, making big money at that salt mines, making big money or whatever I did. I was making money, so I just stayed here, and I'm still here now, and I'll probably never go home. Not to live. Can't leave my dogs. I got that place with all my dogs. I hope I can recognize this place. They've done a lot of work out here. Wow. Lots of work. There was a red barn out here, and it had Hauser on it. Had our name on it. I haven't been out here in so long. This is unbelievable. I've been by it a few times since I've lived here. This is the first time in probably 15 years I've drove out this way. And, Minnie, I want my purse back. And I know that your Debbie loves to chat. I know that's you, Minnie. I find out everything. Don't forget, I've got a psychic dog, and if you can keep that purse, and I hope some orbs start coming around me, because they seem to come around me when I'm talking about that purse that you don't have a problem keeping, knowing how much it's worth, and that you took it under false pretenses. I think I'm seeing some orbs, people. The purse is bringing the orbs out. I wish I was hungry. I'd like to do a food review. Man, I'm not hungry at all. I think that Snap is getting some diet stuff in it. Now, there's one house that's gone. I don't even see it anymore. I'm going to switch this camera around in a minute and show you. Show you the place where I got the 30-06 from. And I've still got that gun. Every time I look at it, I think, oh, he might kill me, but he's not going to kill me with his favorite gun. That's not going to happen. I come out here and shoot every now and then, too, right off this little bridge. Set cans right down there and shoot them. This is a desolate road, people. In fact, I may turn this around and show you how we are in desolate areas. Desolate. Oh, and so Flo, I never loved you, and I was going to play your clip, but I decided to do a drive-by, but I have the clip of you saying that you know that I love you, and you can prove it. No, I don't even like you, never did, let alone love you. I never loved anybody, except number 2. It's the only one. Maybe number 7, Kevin. I ain't met him yet. We probably won't last 2 minutes. When we meet in real life, we fight now every time we talk to each other. Here it is, people, coming up. My home. Okay. We're coming up to it. See, that big double wide thing was not there. There's the house. That brick house right there. And there was a 15-acre Had a 20 by 20 living room with a big corner fireplace in it. Huge corner fireplace. There's my old homestead. Man, I haven't seen this thing. See that pasture right there and all the way behind it? Had 15 acres with it. The home, it's got a big pond behind it. It's got some horses. But the barn's gone. There was a barn back there and it's gone. There's the pond. You can kind of, and there's some, they're mules. There's my old homestead. It went clear back into those woods. That's where he took Billy coon hunting. Was back in the woods. Wow, this is neat coming looking at my old stomping grounds. And I can also show you where there was a murder, because it's right up here. Guy got murdered and they've never arrested anybody for it. His name was Joe Smith. And he used to have these boys come in from these little camps that everybody sent their kids to learn how to act right. And he would get 3 or 4 of them to work. But I hope his house is up here, because if it's tore down, I'll show you some calves and some cows too. Right here's some. These are Santa Gratuitas, people. That's what they're called. These cows were actually invented in Texas. Moo! Come balls, come balls. Hey, little babies. You're kind of skinny. You need some hay out there. You need some hay, babies. You're looking kind of frail. Look how skinny that one is. Ooh, I don't like seeing skinny animals. Only thing that looks good skinny are females. I hope this damn place ain't down with this Joe Smith guy got. Anyway, they didn't know which one of them boys did it, but they found out later that he'd been molesting them. So they think one of them might have come back and killed him. He killed him right in his bed. I'll show you his house if it's still up here. I have no idea if it is or not. I hadn't been out this road in ages and ages. But this is all good places to come and shoot. If you want to practice, this is for you, Dixie. Everything looks about the same. I don't know where that guy's house is. I'm thinking it's coming right up here. That's a new house. That one wasn't out here when I lived out here. Oh, and it's for sale. There's another new house. Wasn't here. Now we're going to look right down the nitty-gritty. You're going to look at right what I'm looking at. Wow, it's been a while. We're actually going to go by the house where I got married to number 5. This is number 3 that we're on now. My daughter's dad. But we're actually going to go by the house where number 5 and I got married. Not unless it's gone too. I don't think it is. I think that guy's house is gone. Because I'm thinking it was right in here and there's a new looking thing there. It's probably gone. It was pretty much of a shack. There's a house. That house wasn't here. That's new. I know who lives there. She owns a greenhouse. Grand Saline now. There's some stuff out there that wasn't there either. Building stuff out here. I don't see that dude's house. I'm thinking it was right in here somewhere. It's probably fell down. Anyway, it was on this road. His name was Joe Smith. Never been solved. They don't have a clue who did it. some more cows. Well, I didn't see the house. It must have fell down. Because we're on Silver Lake now. But I will show you where I got married if that house is still standing. I had no idea because I hadn't been around this way in ages. One of the first things you need to do when you move somewhere is find all the back roads. I hope this place we got married is still here. I still got the tape of it. Half the people in that wedding tape are gone now. Sad to watch it. Look, I don't know. Nothing is looking like it to me. It was way back. That might have been it. No, this is it right here. That's where me and number 5 got married. It was a biker wedding. It was all bikers there. And we're going to be pulling up here in Silver Lake. Grand Saline is where we're headed. I spent quite a few hours at that place because my van broke down, overheated, the water pump or something went out of it when I was married to number 5, and I had to wait for him to come and rescue me. I had to sit right there where that little drive-off is. It was a 69 van. I sat right there waiting for him to come. He had to come, then he had to go get a water pump, and then he got it running. Now we're headed back to Grand Saline. I'm going to go by the Sonic and get my favorite drink, Route 44 unsweet tea with lots of ice. Oh yeah. And go put some vitamins in it. And I'll be fine and dandy. Chippy and chappy, kicking up my heels like a spring chicken. So there you go, people. That's story time about my daughter's dad. Number 3, Hauser. There's your another little deep dive, people. And I promise you, I'm going to play those clips of SoFlo, because I have them, saying that he has proof that I actually love him. And I have, really, the other clip is kind of lame, but I might as well play both of them if I do it. And then I don't know why people are trying to worry about if I'm giving pizza cash apps. For one thing, that's not their money, it's mine. And it's nobody's business what I do with my money. That got you guys in a lot of trouble to begin with. You should have just kept your mouth shut, took the money, and been happy with it instead of rapping and whining. So, I want to wish everybody a wonderful Tuesday with Terrietime. Look at this. I want you to see my losing weight. Well, you really can't tell, but I am. Well, I ain't losing any of my breasts, but I'm losing weight for Kevy, so I look fine. And he's actually talking about, he's crazy. He's talking about leaving the state jail where he is and coming to do the end of his federal sentence here in Texas so we can be close to each other. I think it's stupid. I'm not going to spend my time running to some jail to visit him. I've been in practically all of them, but I never visited. He said there's 2 federal jails. He's even looked it up. So I don't know how that's going to work out. I'm not going for it. I don't think it's a good idea, but he's going to do what he wants to do. I think there's one federal jail down near Houston. I'm not sure where the other one is. But the ones up here around me are state. Palestine, Tennessee Colony, and all them are state jails. The The ones that I've been to visit Nancy and my exes, and all my exes practically. Nancy and Ray, they were all in these state jails, and they're horrible. No heat, no air. And I am going to get off of here. You had a nice little trip. You've seen some of my background. Got another name now, people. Run with it. You got 3 of my last names. 3 more to go. And a guy that lived with me for 8 years that I never married. And I ain't going to tell you about all of them I went with, but I could. But half of them are at the salt mine. They'll see this and be big trouble. And I'm not a troublemaker. And I think all women are beautiful. I'm glad they're coming off their avatars. They need to stand up and be proud. Don't worry what people say. I certainly don't. You all know I don't care what people say. So anyway, love y'all. Ciao. Hey folks.